Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tech with Search. My name is Sachin, a Google developer expert. And in the previous episodes of Dialogflow series, we started building our Dialogflow chatbot from scratch. And now we've come to a point where we are going to take our chatbot and take it to the next level by testing it, as well as what's next by integrating with other platforms and mediums. So for that, we once again have the superstar Lee Boonstra joining us on Tech with Search. So Lee, super happy to have you on the show once again. And I'm sure that our audience as well are super eager to see what you can actually bring to the entire series right now. We've learned a lot. I mean, to be quite honest, when we started, the main intention of this entire series was to make sure that we kind of go step by step and show each and every steps and nuances and give a clear understanding of the entire Dialogflow CX platform. Now that we've created and built our own chatbot, how do we kind of take this forward? So Lee, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me back again. So what we did in the last couple of weeks, we created like this chatbot for a fictional record label, G Records. And with this record label, you can order CDs or T-shirts, etc. And we created like this whole flow with pages and intents and all the building blocks, and then we wired it all up together. And by now, you will have a working chatbot. And we actually now will do some more advanced tips and tricks on how you can improve the quality of your chatbot. And one of those things is by creating test cases, which is quite a unique feature that's built into Dialogflow that we will use today. And if you have been following the lab, the last couple of weeks, then you might have seen that there are already some instructions in here to explain how you can run these test cases within Dialogflow. I already did this, so I'm just going to show you how you record it, and then we'll talk to the test cases. It actually is very easy. What you do is you open the Dialogflow simulator, and you just start talking to it, and then after you're done with your conversation, then you save the test case, and then it will show up in your test cases overview here. See if you click on manage test cases. So let's give it a try. Let's run a happy flow. Start with hi, and I want to order the Alice Cooper t-shirt. An Alice Googler t-shirt. We sell shirts, music, or to a movie. Which merchandise item do you want? Hey, t-shirt. What size do you want? Size L. The t-shirt of Alice Googler L costs $25. Should I continue? Yes. Now we switch over to another flow, the order process. That's fine. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on the Save as Test Case button, and that takes this whole history with all these parameters that I was just entering, and it's going to store that. I can give it a name. I can say Happy Flow Ordering Alice Googler t-shirt. And then you can add some description or tags. I'm just going to hit Save here. And then you will see that it will show up in the test screen here. Eventually, let me hit refresh. Yeah, there it is. See, so the Happy Flow Ordering Alice Googler t-shirt, and you see like this test has never been executed. Other test cases that I did, they run already. And why is this interesting? Well, you can imagine that. Let's say at this moment in time, I'm very happy with the chatbot that I've built. There are not many mistakes in my chatbot. I'm gonna now record all the flows, all the possible ways in how customers can order t-shirts, and I'm gonna store that. And then next week, if I make changes to my chatbot and I maybe move pages around, or I remove intents, or I update intents, then I can always run my test cases like we call that the golden test, to see if they still pass. Because if they fail, then I know like, hey, I broke something within my last iteration. And what you can do is you can either run all the tests, or you can run a single selected one. I'm gonna run them all, and I'm gonna run them in my draft environment, because they're tied to an environment. And yeah, and then it will
So
take
that's a very important point that you brought up, Lee.
Yeah.
Just the fact that people would be wondering, okay, what's the big deal with this whole feature? Like, we just went to the test simulator, we actually simulated the flow. Why would this be useful? Yes, because when we are building such complex and big virtual agents, it's quite natural that you add more and more features in the future.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that after adding something, you come here, since you have already simulated all of these test cases, you can check which of those test cases are actually going through and which of those are failing, and then you can actually go in and see why that failed. So it's a very interesting and a cool feature to have, especially when you're working with teams and building a complex virtual agent.
Yeah, exactly. See, here I bought the Alice Cookie t-shirt, and you see this was my golden test case, and now it executes with the same content, and it seems to work. It passed. But here I have like a test case, and this is a test case, but they're in the lab. We ask you to delete the page and then run it again, or swap it for another page. Then you see that the test case fails. And it also gives me an error message saying like, yeah, the page mismatch. Yeah, I expected the refund page, but the actual page that it got to is the swapping, or actually the intent where it got to, the swapping page with the swapping intent. So that's where it went wrong. And that is very useful information, as you can imagine. Now, beside these test cases, you can also get some coverage. And what do we mean with coverage? That if you create test cases, we want to check like, do we hit all the pages? Do we transition to all the pages with these test cases? Because like in my case, I only hit half of it. So half of my my agent hasn't been tested really well. So I might need to create more test cases in order to have a higher number. And the same is for intents and even route groups that can do the same. I can see like how many of the intents do I cover in my test cases. So you see like I never created test cases where I asked like, oh, go back please. And I also haven't done things with asking order status. So I could record that, and then the next time it will be shown up here in coverage. Now, the lab itself, it takes some time, because what you will do in this lab is you will go by the bot that you already created, and you will add a few more pages, and it will be simple pages, and then you will record the test case, and after recording the test case, then we ask you to delete the page and run it again, and then you'll see that it fails, for example. Here you see
Sorry, and in this coverage, Lee, this also gives you probably like an idea of all the test cases that you have done, which all specific flows that you have actually gone through, the intents and so on, so that while just looking at this one screen, you get to see that the ones that are in red have not yet been covered, so you can actually go and test those scenarios out as well.
Yeah.
Correct. And another important thing that probably which I wanted to bring it up was you go back to the test case scenario.
Yeah.
We saw something like webhook on.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to test agent and see probably there's some settings somewhere there under the test use case.
This one?
Yeah. Any settings on the the webhook is turned on.
So that's probably why. We can try it, can see how it works. Get this one off. So hi. I want which bands are signed. which of these artists would you like to order merchandise? Alice Googler. Which merchandise do you want? Long sleeve. Size M. Okay. Now we'll save. Alice Googler long sleeve. We probably want, let's see how this works if we say we want to capture the artist. And we want to capture the, I guess it's t-shirt, merch. And the price and the shirt size. Save. Let me see. I need to refresh the page, I think. Yeah. See, here you see that the test is running. Test completed. Yeah, now it passed. So let's see what it did. Yeah, it took the parameters that I entered, right? And it says the webhook is off. So that answers the question. Yeah.
So that basically answers, that why that webhook on off is over there.
Yes,
right?
And it also answers why this one failed with your chat DTMF. DTMF means like it thinks that it's a contact center and it expects people as a number.
Especially when you're dealing with like phone calls and how you do all of those specific flows. So that basically explains why we had that issue in the first case. So thanks, Lee. I think we are still exploring some of these features within the platform as well. So that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. But while we're here in this interface, let's go through some of the other things that are here. So for example, you can create versions and you can create environments. And as you see in my example, I already created an environment. I created an environment Lee localhost, which means this is basically all my dev environment. And I created the production environment that I disabled for the test for now. But it means I can hook up all my integrations to the production one so that I can use my test environment completely for testing and it won't break anything.
Right.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And this is important as well because when I'm building these bots, and especially when we put it to production environments, what we typically do is you can do different versions, and then you can actually test new features in the new versions. And once it is ready, then you can actually move it to the production environment as well. So in that case, you want to make sure anything that you're trying out something new, you always have a test or beta testers actually going through with it. Once you think it is ready for prod, then you can then push it to production.
It's a nice way, especially for when you work with teams with multiple people, right? Then you always know this was the version where it worked, and then other people are all working on their own versions, and you can always move further along. With Dialogflow Essentials, we didn't have these features, and what people used to do was they would create multiple agents where every agent would contain a new. And every agent would be in a new Google Cloud project, and then every agent would be its own version, or you would name an agent for an environment. That's just not needed in that.
We did technically have versions and environment moving into production and stuff, but not how we have in Dialogflow CX. So there's definitely this is a completely different beast that we're dealing with, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Then integrations. Out of the box, Dialogflow ships with a bunch of integrations, and yeah, when you've seen me testing like these weeks, is the Dialogflow Messenger bot. That one that opens the chatbot, and then you can test it with a nice widget. This one. But yeah, there are some other integrations available that you can make use of, like Facebook Messenger, or you can use telephony integrations like Avaya or Foxband and audio codes. Create like a contact center for you. Is this the same as contact center AI? No, not really, because contact center AI typically works with an telephony partner, or where you already have an existing telephony partner contract. Let's say you have a contract with Genesis or Cisco. Like typically these large companies, they have that because they already have a phone number that people can reach them to. And then you can ask, like for example, Genesis to enable CCAI, because we all have partnerships with them. And then they would ask you for your Dialogflow project ID, and you probably have to upload a service account. And then they can hook it up to, then they can hook up the bot to a phone number. Yeah. And then
So,
you can test
just for our audience, Lee, let's actually give them a quick intro of what is CCAI.
CCAI stands for Contact Center AI. It's our offering for contact center to automate contact center conversations. You can imagine that, especially when we look into, for example, an example is insurance companies. Like what happens here in the Netherlands, at the end of the year, people are allowed to switch their insurance provider. So people are all calling these insurance companies, and then there's like a massive waiting line, and these companies can't handle the amount of people on the line anymore. Yeah, the volumes. And that's an expensive use case, right? And nobody really gets happy from that, because it means that customers, they have to wait long. It means that the business is not hitting their targets. Then what they often do, these companies, is they hire students to pick up the phone, and these students, they are not really trained in doing these type of conversations. So also to take a phone call takes long. And what we figured at Google was, like, we can probably automate this with bot technology. And the chatbot that you've seen here, that was a text chatbot. But you can imagine that we could just, if you take this chatbot and you would hook it up to a telephone, and we would use voice capabilities that come out of the box with Dialogflow or with Google Cloud in case of Contact Center AI, then we can listen to user voice input. And we can also synthesize the output from the computer. So like the whole conversation with the chatbot can be automated. That speeds up the call time, that clears up all these waiting lines.
I mean, not just the wonderful use case that you gave, insurance. Apart from that, banking is a very important use case as well. I mean, we've all been there where we are going through the traditional IVR flow of, press 2, press 3 for this. You never get to speak to an agent, or you never get the right information that you want. But now that with this whole integration, what will happen is I just need to check, whether I'm eligible for, a specific account or loan, and then the bot should be able to give me all that information based on all the other parameters that it already has of me. And then if I want to connect to an actual customer agent, and then we can do the switch over there. And I think with what Lee brought out in terms of CCAI is, I think it has another cool feature called Insights, right, Lee? So what that allows is, while you're having these conversations with the user, the customer agent who's actually dealing with all of this behind the scenes gets to get important information about the conversation or the topics that you both are having this conversation with. Or even before the call gets transferred to the agent already has, the actual agent already has all the information about the previous chat, along with specific resources that they can refer to and then it give back to the user. So those are some of the unique offerings that Google Cloud provides as part of the entire CCAI offering.
Yeah, I opened it here on the screen actually, because we actually now also have a new platform which is called CCAI Platform. I will go into detail about this later as well. But the core of contact center AI is basically Dialogflow, because that is the way how you automate conversation through bot technology. And we have the insights tool. This is really like for the monitoring the conversations, getting the transcripts, and also building a topic model where you could see like, oh, these are the most discussed topics that people are calling for. And then we have Agent Assist. And Agent Assist is like when you do the live handover of the call from the bot to a human agent, then the bot can still listen in and provide suggestions on the screen. So remember when I said like, yeah, the insurance company that at the end of the year they hire students, like then the student don't need to put you on hold. No, he can just read the screen because the bot was listening in and it provides from a knowledge base all the answers on the screen. And this is all being powered with speech technology from Google Cloud. So speech to text, where we take the audio recording and transcribe it to written text. We generate spoken speech, synthesizing that with text to speech, and we can do this with very human-like voices. Also, like NLU and translate. These are all speaker ID, even the biometrics. We all have those components. Yeah.
And we'll be covering a lot of these topics in the upcoming episodes as well. So if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon so that you can get notified for future videos. So with that being said, Lee, now that we are talking about integrations, how different it is compared to Dialogflow Essentials integrations? Do we have to have a lot more change in terms of how the integrations happen? I know there's by default the Messenger that you can easily integrate. Facebook Messenger, I'm guessing it's going to be similar workflow of how you had the
the ones that are here, they're quite similar to Essentials. I think that this one has more telephony options. I would say like, and this is probably the first thing that you would notice when you see the screen, like, hey, well, where are all the other integrations? Because Dialogflow Essentials has way more. That's true, but we figured, or I know this because I'm a developer and I've built so many integrations, that often the out of the box is not sufficient enough, because you either want to run the process before or after. And what is very common is that you would manually build the integration yourself with the SDK, and the SDK in this case is not that much different than in Essentials. Like, the JSON objects, they look a little bit different, and the results look a little bit different, but the way how you would develop an integration is exactly the same. And actually, this is a topic that I discuss a lot in my book, The Definitive Guide to Conversational AI with Google and Dialogflow.
And for everyone who's interested in that, we'll probably leave the link below in the description so that they can actually check that out.
Yeah, because I think conversation design is one thing, and that often design, like chatbot designers do that, but I think chatbot development, that's not only building the fulfillments, like the fulfillment that is like when you hook up your agent to a database and you fetch information, but building an integration is like exactly what you see on this screen, like you build your own custom integration. And you can use anything you like I have here a demo application where I built my own integration for Dialogflow CX with Twilio, where I create my own contact center in Twilio, and I can also send text messages to a bot, and I reply to the chatbot on text message, which is provided by Twilio. And I'm using Flutter for a mobile application where I integrate with Dialogflow, or business messages, which is an awesome tool where you can have a chatbot in Google Search or in Google Maps. These are the amazing ways.
And for everyone who's actually joining us for the very first time, some of these integrations have been already covered for Dialogflow ES. It's going to be very similar to that. You also have all of these resources in the description, so you can actually go and check it out. And on top of all of this, as Lee mentioned, when you're actually working on some of these projects, you might want to use the Dialogflow API or the SDK to actually integrate with your own UI, your own framework, because that's how you're going to have a deeper integration and how you can control. And one of the points that Lee brought out was Twilio. So I know WhatsApp is a very hot topic, especially in the community where you guys have been asking a lot more on the integrations with WhatsApp. You can actually get it done through the integration with Twilio as well. So we've done all of this in the previous episodes, so do check them out. And Lee, I think as part of this specific integrations, can we actually give users an experience of an actual demo or the integration?
Yeah, correct. I have a very nice demo here in a video recording that goes to all these channels. So I think that is a nice thing to maybe watch now.
Sure.
Should I try it if it plays?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see.
Customers ask us all the time, what's the future of customer care? We think your contact center shouldn't be a cost center, but a revenue center. It should meet your customers where they are, 24/7, and be proactive, ubiquitous, and scalable. It should become a trusted partner in your day-to-day life. What you will see in the next minute is an early demo built by DevRel on how we can reimagine customer experience, a true omni-channel approach. Imagine you are looking to buy a new house. You're visiting a real estate portal, and while browsing through properties, you see this ad which starts a conversation. This ad is provided by Google AdLingo and Dialogflow. It's used to start a huge amount of conversations through somebody else's website and to attract as many visitors to your own site, in this case, the website of G Mortgages. You will land on the banking website of G Mortgages, and it allows you to schedule a mortgage appointment. At this moment, you are talking to a virtual agent built with Dialogflow. Once the conversation is scheduled, you will receive a text message on your phone. This is built by integrating Twilio with Dialogflow or Contact Center AI. You can even reply to the messages as you're still having a conversation with the virtual agent. Three hours later, you are not behind your laptop anymore, but you do have another question for G Mortgages. So you will ask your Google Assistant to continue your conversation. Hey Google, can you talk to G Mortgages?
All right, here's the test version of G Mortgages. Hi Lee, this is the virtual assistant of G Mortgages. I can schedule or change your appointments. Also, I can help you with your mortgage questions. How can I help?
What is an adjustable rate mortgage?
Adjustable rate mortgages typically have low initial interest rates. After the initial period, the rate adjusts to the current market conditions.
Well, is it better than a fixed rate mortgage?
Well, it depends. How long do you plan to own the house?
Maybe 5 years.
In that case, I would suggest an adjustable rate mortgage. No sense in locking a rate for 30 years if you're not going to live there that long.
Okay, I will bring that up to my broker.
No problem. Do you have any more questions?
Well, actually, I have another question. Can you give me a call? Later in the conversation, you prefer to continue the conversation over your phone, so you can ask the virtual assistant to give you a phone call. The conversation will continue over the phone, and it's even possible to transfer to a live agent.
Hi, I am the virtual assistant for G Mortgages. You've asked me to give you a ring. How can I help?
Well, I'm thinking about changing my job. Will this affect my mortgage application?
That's exciting. Unfortunately, taking a job at a new company will affect your length of employment and may impact your application.
Well, what?
I know it's a tough situation, but if you can defer the start date until after the mortgage.
At the end of the day, after your mortgage consultation, you can talk to the virtual assistant in the mobile app, in our case Flutter, which can share with you a summary of today. Let's reiterate. We started our conversation via an AdLingo ad. Then we went to a website built with Angular to talk to the Dialogflow virtual agent. The agent sent us a summary as a text message. We could continue the conversation over voice via the Google Assistant, and later even on a phone. And we ended this demo in a Flutter app. The conversation could travel seamlessly, proactively, no matter where the user was in time or physical location.
Yeah, so that is a demo that I built myself, and everybody is welcome to look into the code of how I created this.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is an excellent demo because we are actually going through all the different mediums of how you can communicate with your bot. The most important being the final one where you're actually having a conversation with the phone. I've created a similar demo sometime back with a healthcare use case where you're having the conversation, and then depending on the sentiment of the user, so by typically just asking what is your pain score between 1 to 10, instead of asking that each one has a different pain score, right? So you can actually have a conversation using your Dialogflow agent, and then your agent will capture. You can use sentiment analysis, and based on your sentiment score, you can trigger Twilio SMS to the doctor saying that this person needs immediate help. So try and reach out. At the same time, it can also send an SMS or call to the CAT team member as well. So you can actually have different use cases, but I think the demo that Lee showed was very clear because it actually touched upon all the different platforms, and that was pretty cool. One thing, however, I do have to highlight is the fact that the demo that was shown on the Google Assistant, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, as of yesterday, Google is actually sunsetting the conversational actions for the Google Assistant. Apart from that specific feature, all the other functionalities that you're talking about or that we just witnessed, it's all going to work. So it's still going to work till
the AdLingo that I showed, that's now called Business Messages, and it can do much more. So in my demo, I showed like an ad on somebody else's website, but with Business Messages, you can also have the ad or the chatbot on Google Search or Google Maps, and I think that's even more. Even greater. And the thing is, like, because in the past people chose the Google Assistant to bring their apps or their chatbots to, because they wanted to be part of the Google ecosystem. But I think a way better way of being part of the Google ecosystem is by presenting your bots through the Google search engine, because that is where all your customers are, and that is how customers can find you.
How customers actually reach out as well, right?
Exactly, and how they reach out. Yeah, you can imagine, you can suddenly people reach to your chatbot without even visiting your brand, so you can get a massive load. Lots of people that are interacting with your brand. So that's amazing.
And I think Lee, I know that we are coming to the end of time, but I just want to quickly go through some of the questions that the community has asked for, and then we can just discuss about it and probably give them some the best approach to do that. So I have one question over here. So this person has asked, I'm trying to develop a complex and humongous NLU set using Dialogflow, right? After seeing your video, I realized that my work is far easier in CX than the Dialogflow ES. But I was stuck with one thing. As I have more than 500 intents, they are clashing with each other's training sets. So suppose a question is asked partially, it will answer some other random answer. How to rectify this? I'll be so grateful if you could help me rectify. Okay, so let's just understand what this gentleman is going through. So he's built a bot or agent where he's created more than 500 intents. And this is where the conversation design guidelines will also come into play, because when you're choosing the intents or when you're creating intents, and I think we kind of covered some of these in the previous episodes as well, reusable intents. But here you're saying that you have 500 intents, and depending on the conversation, it is actually going to the wrong place, or it is clashing with some other intent where you're not supposed to go. So what is the best approach in handling this?
I think you know this, right? Because I've seen you a building agent with many intents and many pages.
Right.
I mean, I don't have experience with building that many intents and pages, but I feel that the answer is like if you have lots of flows, like then they won't clash that much. Because this gentleman, he used essentials for his chatbot, right? And therefore,
Right.
he's
So,
running problems.
yeah, so you kind of touched upon that point, Lee. What I would probably suggest is with Dialogflow ES, yes, the limitation was you're kind of designing everything with intents and entities. But with CX, what I would highly recommend you to do is to make sure that you design your conversation through these flows. And then once the conversation is in a specific flow, and then based on when you want the specific intent to be matched, it will continue the conversation. And depending on extra parameters and extra conditions, you can actually write all of those within your pages as well as your backend webbook to actually navigate and control your conversations. So there's a key difference between how you kind of visualize or create these or design these agents in Dialogflow ES and CX. I hope that will actually help you. This should actually help you to kind of navigate away from both of those. It's good that you've created intents, but as a golden rule, what I would always say is when you're creating intents, even when you're training data sets, make sure that you don't overtrain your intents with the same. So let's say you have 5 different intents, and you have within those 5 intents, you have a lot of training data. Make sure that you don't have the same kind of training data in all of those 5, because then it will be hard for the AI to kind of clearly distinguish that.
Yeah. And
Okay,
to add on this, like when you create training data, try to also make variances in the parameters that you're using. So in this case of the t-shirt bot, we have Alice Googler and we have the Google Dolls. Try to pick for every line in the training phrase with a different value of the parameter of the entities. That
Right.
also benefits the model better.
Okay, I think the next one that we have is, hello, I'm using the webhook with Dialogflow CX.
Yeah.
Okay, and event handlers. So how would I manage that from a text field? For example, webhook returns T1, T2 with custom event name. If I click directly on T1, it's redirected. But if I type T1, then enter, it's not working. Can you please let me know on how we can achieve that? So this again, to whoever has requested this, I think we would probably need more context into what exactly that you're requesting. We do understand that you're trying to do something with conditions. So based on specific events and specific conditions, you want specific things to happen. So I would highly recommend that you look into the conditional responses. If that's not the one that's not helping you, then I would probably we'd probably need much more context into what you're looking into. And let's see if we can get one final question.
But I do agree that, for example, my lab doesn't really cover fulfillment, and eventually I think I will probably at some point create a second version of the lab, or maybe just an additional chapter to this lab that handles or should address fulfillments, because I think that that is another big topic, and I feel like that is a topic that we could talk for hours on, because that,
Definitely, because I can probably see one of the comments over here.
Yeah.
Best tutorial ever on Dialogflow CX. Appreciate both of your efforts. I would love to see the usage of cloud functions, webhook, data storage, and Firestore in the coming videos. So definitely we have all of that coming your way. So there's going to be much more. I'll be more than happy to have Lee on the show for all of these. But even without that, we'll be covering just with Lee's virtual agent, we can actually take it as a blueprint and start seeing, apart from the static responses, how we can actually make all of these responses come from webhooks, how we can connect with cloud functions, all of those things. So definitely a lot more coming your way. So stay tuned and stay subscribed as well to the channel if you haven't already. So I think with that brings us to the end of this specific series. So Lee, thank you so much. I mean, on behalf of Tech with Search as well as the entire community, thank you so much for all the work that you've done and all the, especially this specific code lab where we've gone through and being very patient with me to kind of try and understand, make sure that we cover each and every points on how to build a conversational bot from scratch. I know it takes a lot of time. We've taken a lot of time doing this entire series. Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for being part of this special series, and looking forward to collaborate with you in the future episodes as well.
Thank you all for watching. I think it was a fun ride. I think that was also our aim of Sachin and me when we developed this course. We wanted to create the best course that is online, and we know, even I know, and I'm a Google expert, that developing bots with Dialogflow CX can be, the learning curve is steep. So we really hope that this video will definitely bring you up to speed, because Dialogflow CX is way more powerful than Dialogflow Essentials, and I think that's what this tutorial shows you. And like Sachin said, like if you subscribe to the channel, then you will get all the other extra content. So thank you
all the resources and the links will be there in the description, so do check them out, and also check the Dialogflow CX playlist, so that you can actually start from this the beginning episode, the first episode, and slowly graduate through all of the videos as well. So Lee, thank you so much once again, and see you all in the next one.